Pokemon abilities that had added effects outside of battle are extremely useful, like Magnet Pull, forcing any Steel-type Pokemon in the wild to appear at least 50% of the time. But you might not be aware that there's a secondary, out-of-battle effect for this ability Magnet Pull, and two others. Magnet Pull, Suction Cups, and Keen Eye, three abilities that already affect different things outside of battle, all share a hidden, secondary effect that has to do with finding items. You probably remember breaking rocks with Rock Smash, and occasionally it would cause you to find an item. When you're smashing rocks, if you have a Pokemon with one of these three abilities in the front of your party, the chance of finding an item is boosted by 5%. What's even stranger is that this effect only exists in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. No game before or after does this happen. This outside of battle effect is exclusive to these games only. Jasmine is a recurring character in all of the Generation 4 games, appearing as a gym leader specializing in Steel types in Johto, and has a brief cameo in Sinnoh. But did you know this isn't the only cameo that Jasmine has in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum? If you become an incredible master of contests in Gen 4, and move all the way up to Master Rank contests, the final tier, Jasmine can appear in these contests using her signature Pokemon Steelix. But here's where it gets really interesting. Back over in the sister games of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, after beating her in the first battle and meeting up with her at the Olivine City Diner, when you visit her gym, she will offer up for trade her Steelix. When you accept, you'll notice the Steelix is not actually the one she battled you with back at the gym, or has ever battled with before. Her Steelix is always female in battles, and this one is male, and the Steelix is named Rusty. The Steelix you received is actually her Steelix she uses for contests when visiting Sinnoh. In the Master Rank contests, the Steelix she uses is none other than Rusty himself.
Rusty himself!
In Pokemon Black and White, there's an interesting way to receive an item that was hidden right in front of our eyes. Right beside the entrance to Pinwheel Forest, there's a small pathway. It leads you up some stairs to the top, and there's a big rock that you've probably never interacted with. I mean, why would you, and how could you? But even if you have, there are specific conditions in order for anything to happen. Once a day, you can receive a star piece by interacting with this rock, but only when you have a fighting-type Pokemon in your party. It doesn't need to be at the front, and you actually don't need Rock Smash or anything either, just a Pokemon with the fighting type. I've never seen an in-game interactable correspond with a Pokemon's type like this before, so I thought it was really cool. Not to mention how damn expensive the star piece is, so if you want some extra money, grab yourself a fighting type and go to this rock. There was a really interesting glitch that was fixed in the Western versions of Emerald that has to do with dive. In the Japanese release of Emerald, there was a strange bug that occurs in the Aqua Hideout on the basement second floor. There's a patch of water here that you can surf across, but if we go to the middle here where the water's dark and we save and then restart our game, for some reason the game allows us to use dive here, even though it would normally lead nowhere. As soon as we dive, something crazy happens. The game has no idea where to send us because the water is not programmed to send us anywhere. All it can do is throw our player back to Warp 0 in Entry 0 of Map Group 0, which is just Petalburg City, where we all began. I've never seen a glitch like this launch you across the entire map. What's weird is this only occurs in Emerald and not Ruby and Sapphire in the Japanese versions, since the entrance to the hideout is blocked after obtaining the Mind Badge, the badge you need to use dive outside of battle. So this just remains a crazy glitch that only exists in Japanese Emerald. There's an interesting trade in Heart Gold and Soul Silver you likely never did, where you can receive a very mundane, yet extremely interesting Pokemon. The trade is with Brock in the post-game of Kanto, a Bonsly for his Rhyhorn. Obviously a nod to the anime where he has a Bonsly, but getting a Bonsly in this game is kind of a hassle. Assuming we already caught Sudowoodo on Route 36 in the beginning of the game, which we hopefully did, because there's absolutely no other way to get Sudowoodo anywhere else. This is the only Sudowoodo in the entire game. We then need to catch a Ditto to breed it with, since there is only one Sudowoodo, and we need to fetch the rock incense in Diglett Cave. Once we have these three things, we can hatch a Bonsly. Then we need to call Brock for a rematch in the fighting dojo. After this rematch, we have to wait until the real-life day is Saturday. Keep our DS close by so we don't forget, because from 5 to 8 PM, we have a 3-hour window to catch Brock not inside of his gym, but down south in Diglett Cave. Now I think hardly anybody went through all this trouble just to get a Rhyhorn, a terribly common, unremarkable Pokemon. But there's something really special about this Rhyhorn. It knows the move Thunderfang. Specially bred with this move by Brock, the Pokemon breeder. This doesn't seem that special on the surface, but this is the only way to get Thunderfang on Rhyhorn in this game. The TM for Thunderfang doesn't exist in these games, aside from giving it the move through breeding like he did, which is just as much tedious work. And it's a pretty cool thing to have a Pokemon that Brock himself hatched from an egg, and he even tells you that. It might be the only Pokemon in the history of all of the games that you can receive that was hatched with an egg move by another person, making it extremely unique. If you played Heart Gold and Soul Silver, chances are you remember the Game Corner in Goldenrod City with Voltorb Flip. Many are aware that Voltorb Flip is only in the game due to the original slot machines in old Pokemon getting censored out of the English versions. When you enter into the Game Corner in the Japanese version of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, you'll be greeted by the familiar Game Corner with an updated style. But this Game Corner is just like the old ones in more ways than one. There are some hidden features we completely missed by getting our censored version of the game. First of all, when you enter, you can immediately grab the TM for Captivate near the entrance. Not a very notable move, but you wouldn't be able to receive it in the English versions until deep into the postgame in Kanto at the Celadon department store. Upon spinning a few bars and gambling a few hundred coins away, you'll soon find out that much like the older Game Corner, different machines have better odds, with one being the Golden Machine, with the best chance of winning. Here's where it gets interesting though. The Golden Machine of Heart Gold and Soul Silver is this one right here, the one this guy is playing. So how the hell do we steal his spot? If you leave and return and beat the game and come back, he will always be sitting in this spot. On a single day of the week, Sunday, in the early morning of 7 AM to 10 AM, this is the only time he takes a break and leaves the chair. He will be gone, and that's your only chance to win big. One small detail in Fire Red and Leaf Green you've probably never noticed is when you open your party, you'll see that all your Pokemon are kind of jumping, moving up and down. Well, you might be surprised to learn that their movements are not actually random. Their jumps are actually linked to their health. They'll be jumping at max speed, really fast if they're full HP, but if they're in the yellow, their jumps will slow down, slower and slower until they faint and they're entirely still. But if you highlight the fainted Mon, they still jump just really slowly. An interesting detail I've never noticed. 15 years since its release, and after going to the ruins of Alph, you may think that there's nothing more about Heart Gold to be discovered. Well, I recently found something that I'd surprisingly never seen before, and it's pretty cool. A waterfall in Tojo Falls that is seemingly just that to the naked eye. But it turns out you can actually walk behind the waterfall and reveal a secret room. There's nothing special here, if this is your first time seeing this, but to some it may be oddly familiar. In a special event to receive Celebi, you were teleported to this exact same room with Giovanni in a flashback. Although when you come here during the event, there's no way to exit. You're trapped in this cutscene. If you'd done this event, the question would naturally arise of where is this room? Well, here it is, tucked away as a secret by the developers. Game Freak also added a secret line of dialogue from your partner Pokemon if you're standing right outside of the secret room, possibly a hint at its existence. The fact that this would go so unnoticed unless you accidentally stumbled upon this room is pretty cool. Trainer classes in Pokemon games used to have meaning. There's one tiny detail that seems to have been slightly forgotten in the series and slowly disappeared over time, and that is the effect that the trainer class had on the NPC's actions in Pokemon games. What I mean is that there used to be slight differences in the way that the NPCs would behave in battle based on who they were. For example, the Juggler NPC during battle would have a much higher chance of switching out his Pokemon, like he's juggling with his own Pokemon in battle. A 25% chance for him to switch out every turn. The Twins trainer class would have completely random move selection, unlike a normal trainer who has a specific type of AI to use a certain move on your Pokemon. I guess the idea being the twins are bickering and can't decide what move to choose, so they choose one at random. The Gambler NPC is my favorite though. The Gambler would have a higher chance of using a high-risk, high-reward move like Self-Destruct, Explosion, or Fissure, as if they're gambling with their own Pokemon. A sad detail that doesn't really exist anymore. A year ago, I used a cheat to walk through the walls of the Safari Zone and see what would happen. If you just walk past the tree line of the Safari Zone gate, the whole area is completely empty. But if you use the walk through walls cheat to simply walk past the guard and through the door, you'll enter into the Safari Zone we know. But something is slightly, yet completely off. As you stride into the grass, you'll notice upon your first encounter that the Pokemon you'd normally find have been taken away and replaced with absolutely nothing but Rattata. Every inch of the grass is littered with nothing but Rattata, sitting at level 20. They never intended for this Pokemon to be found, and I don't think anyone else has done this. There's a million questions with this Rattata. Why did they program the grass like this? What is he doing here? But the biggest question is, can it be shiny? Because if it can, and I can find it, I'll be the first one to ever find the out-of-bounds Rattata shiny. No one's ever walked this grass before. I have to find it. I'm sure it can, it has to be. But there's only one way to find out, and I won't stop until I will. But I unknowingly began a journey that took over a year. After getting this deep into the hunt, I started to wonder if this thing really may be shiny locked. I gave up for months. Over the past year, I'd hunted this thing sporadically, doing 1,000 counters on a weekend and 500 the next. The journey for this rattata has spanned a long while for me. I began hunting it with only a few days after the original video was uploaded. But at 2 a.m., in an abandoned mall, laying on the ground outside a closed KFC, while connected to their Wi-Fi, I got a spur of determination. After a sprint of 650 encounters, something happened.
Shiny! Shiny!
Dude!
We got it!
No way!
Yeah!
Oh my god! It's real! No fucking way! Oh, there he is!
Let's go! Only one in existence.
Dude.
The first one ever served.
The first one ever found.
A slow year of hunting this thing on and off. Finally, there it was. The green rat. And as of now, the only one in existence. No one's ever bothered to go through these gates. I'm the only one who's ever bothered to hunt it down. Because why would you? No one even knows this grass exists. Side by side, we journeyed together into unexplored lands, areas that many have never traversed. We enjoyed seeing unseen views together, and frolicked through unfrolicked lands. He feels more at home here. And then I entered the void, where we made our exit. Just me and my shiny rattata. That is truly the only one in existence.